Okay, so Taylor did a fantastic video, the A to Z video over in card, guys, which you probably have seen, but you should watch it first, 100%. Going over this deck. So there was like additional questions on Big Spell side, because Taylor was mostly talking about Cheerios, and he's the big daddy of Cheerios, so of course, he also prefers that side to Big Spell, and I believe, don't quote me on this, but I believe he only plays Big Spell when he's going first or specific matchups where there's a lot of disruption. Like he mentioned, no, here's a matchup configuration for Victor. This deck list with the matchup configurations you can and matchup guides, sideboard guides, whatever you can find over at the card guides Patreon. I'm not gonna not gonna steal here anything. But yeah, so I created the reason I created Big Spell is basically I was first working from like the day zero of uh, the spoilers. I was working on to no pitch Cheerios list, forwards on that, and what I quickly then realized I started to dislike the deck, especially it was like it felt good to goldfish that, of course, but when you get to play real games, because I playtested a ton with my playtesting crew, which has a lot of very well known powerful players. I just lost like every game, and most of those were, of course, due to the deck being very hard, unbuilt, a lot of like non-optimal stuff. But overall, just you could feel the deck shatter in front of any kind of disruption. Weakest links, CNCs, all that Tail also mentions on the A to C video. So then the question was that I did not want to play Lightning Fi, but rather I wanted to play a Volsar centric wizard that can play very well into, like better into disruption. Um, so then I started to optimize the deck into these specific 2 or 3 card hands where you can get like a lot of value in numbers. So the first card that came in was of course Eclectic Magnetism, because this card blocks 3, but you can also like sort of excuse yourself to play more non-attack actions, because by basis this deck only wants 1 wizard action per turn. If you draw 2, you're kind of breaking, but Eclectic Magnetism is one of those cards that allows you to do that. Other than this, wizard cards bring fantastic 3 blocks, which are like the only cards apart from these Majestics being 3 blocks, which is like super fantastic in into more disruptive matchups. So Eclectic allows you to have 2 card, 3 card hands where you get to play off of blue, Eclectic, and some kind of spell. Doesn't even need to be blue if you're playing zero cast, but then you need to have Sigil out. But usually when the game is going longer in these disruptive matches with Big Spell, your priority is to slam conductivity on the board for the free balls, or it's just this card alone is doing a lot of value. But yeah, with Eclectic Magnetism and more blue count, we are allowed to play 2 costs. So the Big Spell portion was first Glyph and Swell Tidings. I was talked off of Spindle. I was talked into Swell. But then turned out I was again convinced on being played Spindle, and now Spindle is like as one of the best cards in the Big Spell deck. It's just being played with Eclectic, these cards being like 3 card 10, which is like not very good rate, of course, but you have to consider the opt because it's per damage dealt, and it's just the most important thing for Oscilio is to unfuck your next turn. It's not it's not it's not that hard after you play a ton of games to min-max and sequence your current hand, but you have to take into account what cards you're possibly seeing due to your graveyard and what you have pitched and bottomed um, for your next hand. So Spindle helps into that a lot, where you can like craft your hands into specific scenarios, combos, into disruption, blocking, and like just everything. The other reason is that we get to play nice ratios with two shocks, and this is as well Commissar. This is just null basically, and E-Strike. So these cards, well, E-Strike is fantastic with embodiment. You're doing stuff a lot right if you get the troll card with this. But basically, it just fixes a lot of brick hands and plays very nice 2-card hands, 3-card hands. So it's a card that's better, I'd say, in Cheerios, but like serves a very good purpose in big spell as well. So the cards you play around is that I have built is Eclectic, like I talked to spells. Commissar also 4 or 5 with Eclectic, completely fine. If you get to do off of Tunic, Eclectic, Mind Warp, that is just you're just doing 8 damage and also asking for a card, at least 1 card, or it's just 2 card 11 or whatever the value would be, which is just very insane. The other parts where Big Spell differentiates from Cheerios is playing 2-card, 3-card Gun and Flash and Blast Oblivion hands, where you try to set up with Blast of Oblivions if you're sitting in conductivity. You block with your cards and then play Blast of Oblivion, play your instant, and bounce Sigil of Conductivity back to your hand, play it back or cycle it and do another card. So you create embodiment for next turn and just get a 0/4 attack, as well as Gun and Flash. You can just play 2-card hand where you go Gun and Flash and an instant and Arcane Gun and Flash. So these are like the tools of playing very small hands effectively, as well as the E-Strike, of course. Same thing with Flittering Charge and Electromagnetic Somersault, which are very, very powerful, cranking up the Volsar count and just going 2-card 8 even without Volsar. But if you have Volsar, this is like 2-card, how much? 11 plus the spell. So it's like super insane. And Fry is just a unconditional worse version of Flittering Charge, kind of. I use the Somersault while it's just current funnel starter. So yeah, current funnel in this list, big spell list, is oftentimes a block 3 or a lightning blue pitch, because it's a very important. Cheerios doesn't care much about Lightning Valley, but big spell actually does care a lot about Lightning Valley, and the reason for that is it can keep it around much better, obviously, and we do have the lightning tag blues here to support that. This is also being lightning pitch, which is a very big part of the card. You also do more often find a spell ender for your hand, which then arcane being over AB, guaranteed hit, just dominated damage basically. So you get the draw off of Channel Lightning Valley very often and get to use it much better. And this list also, big spell plays more instants, so it's catered more into blocking as efficiently as you can and playing your hands as efficiently as you can and trying to find the combo, which is like bigger chance, because sometimes with Cheerios you just pop your Greaves, don't fuck your hands, which is true for big spell as well, but more often than not you usually find a nice Blast or Gun combo with the Greaves for the big spell. So it's kind of like an arcane tempo / mid-range combo deck, where Cheerios is very aggro / combo deck. So they play a lot of same cards but very differently. Your turn cycles are centered centered around different cards. Of course, Sigil both loves playing this. But Big Spell does care more about the Sigil abilities, because Cheerios just has more natural dragon. So you do need these cards and play around them as well. Is there some other thing I'm missing? Uh, this is the standard big spell board. Sometimes you play some of these, but like this is the standard big spell that I've been running. Into like everything, I prefer big spell, unless I'm going second and not getting disrupted. Then of course I play Cheerios because I think it's much better there, as the data suggests, and played this deck like 300 games or so. So I do have a lot of data and experience for the short amount of time this deck has been live. Bindings, I think Taylor taught them very perfectly. These Tunic is now Blossom. I haven't changed it yet, but it looks like that. This I talked. Taylor has talked about these. Don't need to mention. Yeah. This is just chalk. Like I've said, I've made separate video on null chalk as well. People keep asking why not Aetherize over null, but it's just chalk. You get to play very nice ratios here, because this is actually 15, but like 6 of them is cyclable. The null shock is not part of that count because it's just an instant, not a non-attack action, but this is part of the count. So there is just mind warps, etchings, and spindles that you can technically break off, which is 9 is a low chance. But you actually have 15 arcane finishers. And do not be afraid of pitching with this deck. This pitching is fine. And like Taylor said, just create a second cycle. It's very powerful. Yeah, that's probably more about it. Pretty much about it on the big spell. It's just playing efficiently your hands when you get disrupted and thinking how you can unfuck your next hands. But of course, if it's just vanilla damage and your hand is good, you are not probably blocking. Like this is trying to like high tempo as well, but just be a bit more slippery. Because sometimes you just have a hand where you just send, high voltage, pitch current funnel in a send spindle. It's completely fine. That's like, what is it? 3 cards 6? Like insane rate, but you get to opt a lot. Your next hand is probably gonna be the last value worth more. So I hope that clarified something. There's just so much you can talk about Oscilio and so many different cases. But I think Taylor's covered them pretty well, and they come up when you play the game.